Hello and welcome to GBN Originals. This is Miriam Cates. We're witnessing another alarming power grab from this Labour government, one that threatens to criminalise legitimate debate about Islamic practices under the guise of combating prejudice. Now, Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner's proposed Council on Islamophobia isn't about protecting British Muslims from genuine hate crimes. It's about imposing ideological conformity through what senior Conservatives rightly call a Trojan horse for blasphemy laws. Now, the foundation of this council is deeply flawed. Firstly, there's a problematic definition from 2018. At the heart of this controversy lies Labour's adoption of a 2018 all-party parliamentary group definition stating Islamophobia is rooted in racism, targeting expressions of Muslimness. While no doubt well-intentioned, this dangerously conflates criticism of religious doctrines with racial prejudice, and it conflates theological debate with bigotry, and cultural practices with immutable identity. Now, as Policy Exchange's Paul Stott warns, this creates a de facto blasphemy law by equating scrutiny of Islamic tenets like Sharia law or gender segregation with racism. Secondly, there's a free speech hypocrisy in this. Shadow Justice Secretary Robert Jenrick exposed Labour's double standard by saying, why do Labour MPs think it's acceptable to mock Christianity, but not Islam? Consider the facts. BBC comedies regularly satirise Anglican clergy. The National Theatre productions depict Jesus Christ controversially. Yet under this definition, similar scrutiny of Islamic practices and Islamic figures could be deemed Islamophobic. This isn't equality, it's special pleading. The council has a hidden agenda. First of all, Dominic Greaves has been appointed to the controversial role of chairing the council. Now, this raises red flags because Dominic Greaves, formerly a Conservative politician, authored the foreword to that controversial APPG report in 2018. Controversially, of course, that report championed the idea that Islamophobia is equivalent to racism, despite admitting that defining Islamophobia is extremely difficult. Greaves previously supported Remainer campaigns that undermine democratic mandates, and his involvement suggests that this council will entrench Labour's ideological definition rather than conduct some sort of impartial analysis. Is this the slippery slope to censorship? Well, the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government claims this initiative tackles racial and religious hatred. But their track record reveals pressure on universities to ban Islamophobic speakers, police investigations into social media posts critiquing religious doctrines, and proposed Online Safety Act powers that could censor theological debates. As Robert Jenrick stated, this Labour government displays an Orwellian disregard for free speech. There's a broader threat as well of creating a definition of Islamophobia. It could undermine social cohesion. By framing theological disagreements as racism, this proposed council would prevent British Muslims from reforming potentially problematic practices within their own communities. It could stifle ex-Muslims' freedom to critique their former faith. It would hamper counter-extremism programmes by labelling them Islamophobic. There's also a parallel here with anti-Semitism. Rayner's simultaneous proposal for an anti-Semitism council rings hollow, given Labour's well-publicised failure to adopt the full IHRA anti-Semitism definition until 2020. And of course, there does seem to be continued tolerance of anti-Israel activists within the Labour ranks. This suggests that weaponisation of phobia councils for political control rather than genuine protection. Britain doesn't need state-appointed thought police policing theological debates. Instead, we need robust laws against incitement to violence. We already are adequately covered by existing legislation. We need intellectual freedom to critique all belief systems equally. And we need to reject the identity politics that are balkanising British society. This council isn't about combating hate, it's about normalising censorship. Now, I urge viewers to contact their own MPs demanding that Parliament block this authoritarian power grab before our fundamental freedoms are irreparably eroded.
At GB News, we believe in the power of free speech. We're not afraid to ask the tough questions, challenge the status quo, and give you a voice. While others silence dissent, we champion the truth. By becoming a GB News member, you're not just supporting free speech, you're defending it. Please consider supporting us today. Together, we'll hold the powerful to account and make sure that your voice is always heard. Simply go to gbnews.com/support and stand with us for what matters most.
Now, of course, the importance of this issue has been highlighted this week by a man who was arrested after appearing to burn a Quran in central Manchester. The man, aged 47, was arrested on suspicion of a racially aggregated public order offence following an incident near the city's Glade of Light Memorial, a Greater Manchester police spokesman told GB News. The 47-year-old has pleaded guilty to the incident, which happened next to the memorial, which commemorates victims of the 2017 Manchester Arena terrorist attack. The burning was live streamed on social media just days after Salwa Mamika, a Swedish anti-Islam activist who burned the Quran in 2023, was shot dead in an apartment near Sweden's capital, Stockholm, on January the 29th. Now, in response to that incident, the Greater Manchester's Assistant Chief Constable Stephanie Parker said, "We understand the deep concern this will cause within some of our diverse communities and are aware of a live video circulating. We made a swift arrest at the time and recognise the right people have for freedom of expression. But when this crosses into intimidation to cause harm or distress, we always look to take action when it's reported to us." While the Greater Manchester Police statement read, "At around 2:45 p.m. today, that was Saturday, February the 1st, we arrested a 47-year-old man on suspicion of a racially aggravated public order offence following an incident in the city centre at the Glade of Light Memorial. The man has now pleaded guilty and been sentenced."
There are some real concerns over what any move towards a potential definition of Islamophobia could do to a liberal society.
Absolutely. I don't think Islamophobia is actually the correct term. The correct term would be anti-Muslim prejudice. Islamophobia is a catch-all thing. Not all Muslims are, it's not a racist thing. You have black Muslims, you have white Muslims, you have brown Muslims, whatever you have. And this idea of Islamophobia is just a catch-all phrase to prevent a real free speech. I, as a Muslim, encourage and welcome criticisms and dialogue honestly about my faith. This idea you can't talk about someone wearing a hijab or a niqab or someone with a big beard or whatever the case may be, that's not anti-Muslim. Everyone has the right to express their views. We live in a society that lauds free speech and thinks it is our historic rights from Magna Carta onwards to have this idea of free expression. And we don't need in the 21st century to novel this, to restrict it, and to make it more difficult for people to have honest dialogue. In fact, when we don't have frank discussions, we have antipathy, hostility, and resentment building up. And in fact, we need a pressure valve, a release valve, so people can discuss these things openly without being called a racist.
Sounds like you should be on this council. I mean, you have a very balanced. It sounds like you should be on this council to come up with this.
Well, they will never have people like me because firstly, I'm not a Labour man, and I don't care about that so much. I care about Muslims and being British, and I think it's important that we have people, as your previous speaker said, people who are willing to rock the boat. Now, Rayner and company, they will have their disciples and their devotees on this council, despite what your previous speaker said. They will have their disciples and their devotees, and I think we need honest, fearless people out there, and Muslims especially, people like myself, but others as well, who can say honestly and openly, listen, yes, there is anti-Muslim prejudice, there is anti-Muslim feeling in this country, and we need to firstly discover the roots. I mean, for example, who does most of the so-called violent terrorism in this country? It's not Sikhs, it's not Jews, it's not Hindus, it's Muslims. And we need to call a spade a spade.
Now, what's your view? Should criticism of Islamic doctrines be treated as racism? Please share your thoughts below, and if you value free speech over political correctness, hit subscribe to stay informed. Thanks for watching. This is Miriam Cates. Don't forget to subscribe to GB News YouTube for more.